you for that.
Thank
So
you.
let's talk about some of the global opportunities in terms
Right.
of careers and our OFWs.
Yes,
like,
yes.
okay, how you mentioned the OFWs just a little bit earlier. How can it help them to learn Spanish?
Well, the OFWs that I've met, often they tell me, "Ma'am, I'm so glad that this is happening in our country, right? That we really have this now in our system because I, for one, being a seaman, for example, I know I have better skills than some of these guys with me, but if only I could speak Spanish. I know I can outrank, some of these people
because the others speak Spanish, and then
they're able to communicate.
Yeah, then the bosses are like, okay, I'm more comfortable because this guy's telling me this, but they have more skills. But if they learn Spanish, then they would have more of an opportunity.
Right. And they want it for their children, right? Because, of course, their children also have aspirations of becoming, let's say, like their father who was a seaman or something. Or maybe trying to find a job in a call center or something, right?
Yes, you can also be employed in a call center if you speak Spanish. It's not just English, right?
Right. I mean, if you speak really good English, you have chances of getting a better compensation. But they often tell you that if you speak another language, right?
Yeah.
You get paid
on top of that.
You get paid much more.
Yeah.
And there are thousands of jobs that were available for our countrymen, if only.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking actually, like, okay, for example, you work for a call center and they service a client in the US. Now, a lot of people from the US, let's say some, will call. And of course, you can speak English, so they'll speak to you in English. But if you can speak Spanish, and they happen to be like of Mexican descent or something, and then you can speak Spanish, the problem is solved. And so I can see how that would, if you speak Spanish on top of that, wow, you'll get paid much higher.
Right. I've had students who actually wanted to become doctors in the United States, and they took Spanish with me.
Yes, because you need that to communicate with your patients.
Exactly. So can you imagine the lives you can save, if you're able to speak that language, right?
That's right. Exactly. And you'll be much more valuable. You'll be much more of an asset to the hospital or whatever that will employ you, even our nurses. So that's the practical and economic sense. And then the other ones, I just think it's beautiful to, to keep learning. You mentioned earlier that our literature is also...
Yeah, most of our literature is written in the Spanish language. So, our national hero, for one, Jose Rizal, right?
Rizal.
Of course, everybody knows the Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo.
Yeah.
That was written in Spanish. And again...
and
if our national hero, right, wrote that in Spanish, that means he also advocated.
Yes, that's right. And then, I remember in grade school, sometimes they'd say something like, if, that Rizal said, that if you don't speak your own language, then you're, I don't know, something like likening you to, I remember, pag hindi marunong sariling wika, parang mabahong isda. And I would always tell the teachers, but he wrote in Spanish and he spoke Spanish.
Yeah.
I mean, so maybe, okay, we have to come up with this national identity and form it, but we shouldn't also discard that because it's part of our past.
That's right.
If you really want to read Rizal the way he wrote it, why not do it in Spanish? Because that's how he wrote it.
Exactly.
He himself wrote and spoke Spanish, and that was his primary language.
Right. I mean, he knew Tagalog, he knew English and Spanish and other languages as well. So that means that he saw the value. He saw the value because he traveled, he studied.
And he put out his literature and his books, his revolutionary books, in Spanish. He didn't, try to force it into another language. He wrote it in Spanish so that people would understand. And he put out Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo.
Right, exactly.
Oh, Miss Lita Ramos is on the line and she wants to join us. Let's put her on.
Okay.
Hello?
Buenas tardes, señorita.
Oh,
hola.
Buenas tardes, Señora Ramos.
When I was in high school in fourth year, we had Spanish. And all I remember is that our teacher was old and
grumpy.
His fly was always open.
His fly was always open.
He was Ulyanin.
That's right.
And in college also, we had 24 units in Spanish. And our professor, Don Jose Montalban, was really a good professor. And modesty aside, used to let me correct our exam papers.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all because what he taught us was las conjugaciones de los verbos, la español.
Lita.
But we never knew how to speak Spanish. It was 24 units.
Right,
and,
right.
When I was working already with a government corporation, I tried to take conversational Spanish, and our teacher was a Spanish priest from Litran.
Right.
And all I remember was my sentence, las españolas tienen materiales fuertes.
Can you translate that?
Spanish women are very
Ms.Pia,
robust.
She's talking
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
It gives me the creeps when I speak in Spanish. I think looking back, it's because the Spanish themselves, during the 400 years that they were with us, they never really taught the Filipinos to learn Spanish. Only those rich people, I think,
So
like the Moratos. I never like it. And I think it is not really synergetic for us Filipinos to be like Spaniards. It seems like la mona aunque se viste de seda, mona se queda. We never really learn how to speak Spanish, although I think the fault also is because at home we never speak Spanish.
Yeah.
Lita, how would you feel about learning conversational Spanish and then
It
just
was on the
practicing it?
office.
Ah.
We only had this plaque, this certificate. That's all we were interested in. We never really get to learn Spanish.
But what if you could converse in it and like how about if you know any younger people who when they go to work, let's say in a call center or something, they would learn how to be conversant.
I think the younger generation like you has a better chance to learn it.
Yeah.
Although I am from Mindanao, many of our words are in Spanish, like ventana, puerta,
Right.
abre, like that.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Many other words, especially in Zamboanga, I think they speak Spanish, and in parts of Cavite, what do you call this? Spanish. How do you call this Spanish? Their Spanish. But I think it will never be successful here, no, during our time.
During your
Because
time.
we were not made to speak Spanish in school. I think Chinese is far better because we have many Chinese businessmen here.
Chinese is good too, actually.
Pardon me, Ms.Pia.
Yes.
Because I think Spaniards during those times, they look down on Filipinos, I think. This condescending attitude. Forgive me.
No,
that's okay.
it's okay.
Would you find that they do that now, Pia? In
No,
in Spain?
not at all, not at
But
all.
but you're so beautiful. I think you're really Spanish. Spaniard.
Well, thank you. Yes, I am Filipino. I'm Filipina. Proud to say I'm Filipina, but yes, I have Spanish descent.
But our teacher in conversational Spanish, she was a beautiful Filipina girl, brown skin. But when she speaks Spanish, wow! You don't look at her, but when you listen to her, she really speaks like
Yeah.
Those are like the
blue Spanish.
those are like the Latin Americans, Lita. They like the dark skinned sexy Latin American women. Then when they speak Spanish, you're like, oh yeah, like you.
I think you can recommend to the Department of Education, Ms.Pia,
Yes.
to have Spanish taught in the elementary. From
Yes,
elementary
actually,
up
we're
to high
trying
school.
to actually while I was still at the Department of Education, that was something that I was trying to push for, to really
Yes.
bring it down to that level. And going back to what you were saying, Miss Lita, it's also teaching style. We do it differently nowadays. I guess I really understand what you're saying. We're all conjugating all the verbs and the past, present, future, and all these things.
Amar.
Yeah. So I get you, and I've been through that as well. well. But
Only those simple words, not really conversational.
but nowadays we do get a chance to really converse and
Better.
interact, you know,
Yeah.
and I just want to also note that we're talking about teachers and the public school system who are speaking in Spanish very well, and teaching kids in the public school system to speak Spanish, and they are speaking it well as well.
I think, I hope, Ma'am Pia, that the old Spanish attitude of really calling Filipinos when they call muchacho.
Oh no,
A
No.
real,
Yeah.
real boy, not a servant.
Yeah.
Of
So I want
course,
to
yeah.
share, Nicole. Thank you very
Oh,
much.
thank
Pia.
you.
And thank you
Lita.
too.